Wild Zone 8 is one of the first chaotic zones that you encounter with a ton of Pokemon that just attack you. But for shiny hunters, the more Pokemon, the more shiny chances. And I'll be showing you all the tricks and methods to help you fully complete your shiny Pokédex, especially showing you how I caught that stupid shiny Gible. So never miss out by hitting the subscribe button and notification bell. And if you want to further support the channel and enjoy these types of videos, consider becoming a member. You can use Pokemon emotes in the comments. Now let's 100% shiny Wild Zone 8. Wild Zone 8 unlocks after you defeat the Mega Rogue Absol and main mission 10 starts. The Pokemon that we'll be hunting in this zone are Drilbur, Numel, Machop, Gible, Sandile, Krokorok, and Alpha Camerupt. For full shiny dex completionists, you're gonna need 3 Machop, 1 to evolve into Machoke at level 28 and 1 to trade to become a Machamp. For Numel, you're just gonna need 2, 1 to keep as Numel and 1 to evolve into Camerupt. And Camerupt has a Mega Evolution, unless you get lucky and get the shiny Alpha Camerupt. For the Gible line, you're gonna need 3, 1 to keep as Gible, 1 to evolve to Gabite at level 24, and 1 that evolves into Garchomp at level 48. For the Drilbur line, you're going to need 2, 1 to keep as Drilbur and 1 to evolve at level 31 into Excadrill. And Excadrill also has an insane Mega Evolution that's brand new in this game. For Sandile, you're going to need 3, 1 to keep as Sandile, 1 to evolve into Krokorok at level 29, and 1 to evolve into Krookodile at level 40. In order to get other random alpha variants to spawn in your map, you're going to have to complete Mabel's request of catching all the Pokemon within the zone. Base shiny odds are going to be 1 out of 4,096, and shiny odds with the shiny charm are going to be 1 out of 1024.38. The methods that we'll be using in this video are the fast travel method, the bench method, run and despawn method, and the run and reset method. All right, here we are at Wild Zone number 8, and the first method we'll be going over is the fast travel method. Now, fast travel method is really simple. What you should typically do when you practice this is just go ahead and fast travel to the Wild Zone 8 just like this, and then you're just going to do it a couple more times. So some people like to just do it 10, 20, 30, as many times as they want, and then they walk in the zone to see if anything is shiny. Typically, I suggest doing 10 and then just walking in. That way, you're just not sitting there forever for long times, going 20, 30, 40, and then you're like, oh, it already spawned like on the 7th time. So you want to do that about 10 times, and then you want to walk in the zone and see if any shinies have appeared. Now, something to note about the zone, which is really important, is that there are holes on the ground. And what these holes contain are either going to be a Gible or a Drilbur. Now, how do you know exactly what you're going to see? Well, if we just double tap our home button and just look in the hole, you'll see that that is a Drilbur. And if we go over here and double tap our home button, that is, okay, there it is. That is a Gible. So you can see the difference between the two. It's very obvious. There's a nose sticking out the ground versus a Gible's spike. If it happens to be a shiny Pokemon, like for this example of Gible and we have a Drilbur here, you will notice the sparkle right before you approach the hole. So these are the 2 Pokemon that will be popping out the holes at all time. There's none of the Pokemon here that are hole spawns. So you won't know instantly by just looking outside of the zone. Another quick note about Wild Zone 8 fast traveling is you should drop down your marker here and walk inside. Now, when you walk inside, you need to know exactly the range, right? So get an idea exactly where 50 meters is by placing that down and then just looking. Okay, does this hole fall under? Yeah, that hole falls under. Does this hole fall under? Maybe it's in 49. So what you really need to hope for is that the holes that spawn the Gibles is going to be within that 50 meters. Now, lucky for me, I was able to do this method and I found this a lot easier to do and I was able to get my Gible, but we have other methods to cover other sectors of the area in this video, so no worries about that. And of course, the other Pokemon will be very obviously shiny when you do see them as you do the fast travel method. Now, the fast travel method, besides just being in this spot, is going to spawn 50 meters around the area. So if you go around the area, you might come across Pokemon like Fletchling, Trubbish, or even if you're lucky, you might get an alpha shiny Garbodor that shows up due to you fast traveling from this area. Just make sure to run around the city within the 50-meter range of that to see what other shiny Pokemon you may get. Remember, the game saves up to 10 shiny Pokemon, and any extra shiny Pokemon you get after that is going to kind of be recycled and is going to replace previous ones that you have gotten. So you always want to keep that in your brain when you are doing these resets. Now let's talk about the next method that you need to do. Because we said that the 50-meter range is only going to be covering, you know, just a little bit of of Wild Zone 8. So take that triangle, just go pie cut in the circle. We want to get everything to spawn in the zone. The next method is going to be the run and reset method. Now, what exactly is the run and reset method? Well, the run and reset is simply fast traveling once, going in the zone, and instead of just stopping, we're just going to run right across this entire area. And this could actually be macroed because it's just a simple A, you're going forward and you're coming out. So if people want to create macros for that, that is a possible thing. And once you come out, you've pretty much generated all the Pokemon you could within a 50-meter range. So then you can just reset again and do it over and over. So basically you're spawning in a bunch of Pokemon and you're taking advantage of every single fast travel while doing this. So I'm going in, and the holes that, you know, haven't spawned past the original fast travel 50 meters is going to spawn as I go past this area. And boom, that's it. If a shiny Pokemon or a shiny hole popped up, it's okay because it probably saved as I was going through the entire zone. So that is another way of doing it, the run and reset method. Now, the next method is going to be called the run and despawn. Here's something cool that I want you all to see about this area. So you have Pokemon in the middle, right? And we said, okay, it's about 50 meters to pop in the middle over here, just like this. But something that you should see is that the edges of the circle, so I placed a pin at one of the edges of the circle right over here. Now, if I go all the way across, you can see that we are 50 meters. Okay, that's when Pokemon spawn in. And we're not even in the center yet, but if we go all the way over here to the opposite side, this entire circle is sitting at about 70 to 80 meter range. And 70 meters is exactly all you need to despawn the Pokemon within a zone. So, what do we do with that information? Well, this is where we're going to be doing the run and despawn trick. So you could do this from the outside, where all you're doing is circling around the zone. So maybe you could keep just a button pressing just like this. It's pretty easy to also macro on our 8-bit do controller if you want to try and create a macro for that. I haven't done everything in macro, by the way, but I'm letting you know that these can be macroed, and I will be working on a full macro list for everybody so they can see it. And if I happen to do it while editing, it'll be on the screen for certain parts of the video. But it is really easy to macro, just a couple of trial and errors. And I know a lot of people in the comments and people who've bought in that controller are currently doing that right now. They're creating macros, and you can all pop in our Discord, which I'll link in the description, and we can all share our macros there. So pop in the Discord. I think that might be the spot. Anyway, by us doing this entire run around the zone right now, we are despawning Pokemon all over the place. So run and despawning is probably a great method that you want to do. Now, there's also another despawn trick in case you're just bored and you want to do different things with Zone 8 that you could do. It's pretty much going in the zone and you're murking everything you spot. First, let me explain how this one works. So I'm just going to murk everything and then I'll follow up. Okay, so once I clear out most of the zone, I did this for fun. I just noticed more holes pop up. I personally noticed more holes show up, but you guys can confirm with me or deny in the comments whether this is exactly true or not, but we'll see what happens. Give me a second. Let the holes pop in. Okay, and as you can see right now, a bunch of holes just popped up in the middle because it's kind of resetting all the spawns here, but for some reason, more holes just show up. I don't know. And now we're going to wait for some overworld Pokemon to start spawning in as well. Okay, so Numel's all spawning. These guys just spawned. Hello. And what I'm going to do now is this, right? I'm gonna walk inside the middle and I'm gonna just pop open all these holes. There's a Gible. So now that I got all the middle Pokemon pretty much spawned and I don't see any holes in the middle, I'm now going to do the edge walk around, but inside the zone. So now I'm just going over a bunch of holes that could possibly have my rare shiny Gible. So this is an easy macro one, as you just have to have the joystick going up and you just have to tap this every few seconds, just like that. And it could just be on repeat. Overall, the point of this is just to make it as no work. Just let your controller run. You can see Gibles if they do pop up, and the ones on the other sides of the borders are going to despawn. So if you want to do this method, you can, and you don't have to think too much about doing any other things besides just running. Now, the next method we'll be talking about is bench resetting, but I'm really curious in the comments. Let me know which one of these Pokemon you are getting the most common to show up. Is it the Numels? Is it the Machop? You know, I want to know because I know everybody really wants that Gible. Okay, and I'm trying to get you all kinds of methods that you can use to try to get Gible, so please bear with me. I know this is like a very bland one big circle zone, but I want to provide you with the max amount of ways that you could choose to shiny hunt here. But let's move on to the bench method. Now, right from this spot over here, we're gonna do our bench method. So follow me. We're gonna go to the right over here, just like this, and we're gonna bump into our first bench. So this is where we are going to be doing our bench reset. So let me just drop down a pin here so everyone has an idea of the range of this one. Now, here's our spot. This is the bench on your map. This is exactly where I am. John Sector 3, that's the bench. However, we should probably go into the zone just so you have an idea of what area are we covering with this. So this bench is going to cover a very small section, but it is covering a section. So we're getting spawns all the way here up to here. The alpha Pokemon, depending, might pop into it, but I wouldn't say it's a guaranteed. Look, these Numels are in here. This Sandile's in here. If there is a hole spawn, that could also be there. I'm trying not to die while also doing this. Looks like that hole is also within the zone, which is pretty nice. So there is a good amount of Pokemon that are pretty much within 50 meters of that bench. So that is one of the key benches I personally suggest that you should use to do the day and night. And as usual, it is an automated task that we can do simply by using our 8-bit do controller, which I am linking down in the description below and on the screen. And on the screen, I'm just going to throw up the macro that I did. It is a down joystick with a bunch of A over again while holding it down. And pretty much all you're doing is your character is going to be facing the bench and pressing A. And I tell everyone this every single time. If you want to automate this for yourselves, if you don't have a macro controller, again, as usual, make sure the joystick is aiming down, your character is going towards the bench, and just start spamming A and do whatever you got to do in the background. If you have the 8-bit do controller, which has the macro, then open up the software, plug in the bench one, and make sure to activate it. And then you just have to push the button, which we show in all our other videos, to get that bench method going over and over again. Again, that is in the description below for anyone who wants to buy this controller. And this method will definitely yield you some shiny Pokemon when you go check in there, which has actually given me some shinies. So it's pretty nice. But again, we get a lot of the same shinies over and over again. Now, I do want to show you a really cool Pokemon that some people would definitely miss. That is a bonus. We usually say as a rule in the videos, when you are doing something which is causing cycles to refresh, you always want to check out the 50-meter range regardless, right? So we talk about the zone, but you also know that there are other Pokemon that spawn in different spots. Like sometimes you'll get Pidgeys on lampposts. If it's nighttime and that Ghastly's in range, well, then that Ghastly could possibly be a shiny. So that's something we always want to keep in our heads. But there's a really cool spot you should check when doing this bench reset, especially if you want a shiny Abra that can become an Alakazam. So what am I talking about? Where on earth is an Abra here? So what I want you to do is head over to this Pokemon Center, just like this. And then you want to go to the Holovator that is close by to the Pokemon Center right here. If for some reason it is not active, it's most likely due to you not finishing your side quests. Please finish your side quests, especially the ones that have Holovators that are closed or blocked down, so you can get access to the rooftops. You're going to take this Holovator up just like this, and then follow me. So we're up here on the John Sector 4. And of course, if you have other ways of figuring out how to get up here, there's definitely other ways, but I'm just going with the most convenient method in my game right now. We're going to cross over this web, right? And then if you look down below, there is going to be an Abra spawn. By the way, if you want to know how I'm doing this little home trick, just go ahead and hit your home button, go down to the settings, and all the way down to accessibility, and toggle in the zoom button. That will help you zoom in on Pokemon by double tapping home. And I was actually able to get an Abra here, which is kind of crazy. So make sure to come down here and check. Since Abra does spawn here, it is a real wild spawn. It's not the trainer's Pokemon. And the crazy part is, if you take a look, we are within the range of 40 meters. The bench is literally right over there. So that's your bonus Pokemon. Of course, if you want the highest chances, make sure you always get a shiny charm. This hunt is a little bit stressful, but once you get that shiny Gible to finally show up, then eventually you'll be able to make it a shiny Mega Garchomp. It'll be one of the most satisfying feelings you'll have. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out this video on your screen right over here. It's probably shiny.